there were two therapists that also testified. So we had the therapist on Johnny Depp's side of the case, which is the plaintiff side, and she claimed, Dr. Curry claimed, that Amber Heard had a borderline personality disorder and histrionic personality disorder and no PTSD. That's what she claimed based on speaking and evaluating Amber Heard. She spent, I think it was like 2 days with Amber Heard and came to that conclusion that she has borderline personality disorder, histrionic personality disorder, and no PTSD. That was her testimony. Of course, the defense was, oh, no, that can't be. So they bring in their own forensic psychologist. And that lady was quite interesting. Her name was Dr. Hughes. Dr. Hughes, from New York City, apparently. And Dr. Hughes, she evaluated Amber and found that, I believe she did not have, supposedly, did not have histrionic personality disorder, did not have borderline personality disorder, and she had PTSD. Of course, the PTSD factor is actually kind of important, because what that kind of signifies is that, she actually is going through a lot, and she did go through something traumatic specifically with the relationship with Johnny Depp. So that's why that whole diagnosis is quite important, because it proves, either proves or disproves whether she had some post-traumatic stress. What I found was very interesting with Dr. Curry's evaluation of Amber Heard, and that was on Johnny Depp's side of the case. That was his forensic psychologist that evaluated Amber Heard. Dr. Curry did not completely buy everything that Amber Heard said, but actually had this type of adversarial relationship where she would push back and ask questions and to actually find out if she actually has those types of symptoms, specifically with PTSD. One of the things that I've learned is that a forensic psychologist cannot just believe and buy everything that the subject is saying. In a forensic setting, it's a lot different than in a clinical setting. So if you or I were to go into a psychologist's office and want to talk to them, they would what? They would believe what you and I are saying. They wouldn't be completely skeptical and say, there's no way you're going through this, and let's try to poke holes through everything you're saying, right? However, in a forensic setting, when you're doing it for the court, a forensic psychologist always needs to keep in mind that the subject is likely going to say whatever is going to benefit them the most. So they're not working with the forensic psychologist. They're trying to usually dupe the forensic psychologist to get what they want out there and what they want to be presented to the court. Specifically, maybe what they talk to their attorney about, and saying like, well, if you could try to make it seem like you have PTSD, that would be great. Okay, I'll try to make it seem like I have PTSD then. That's why forensic psychologists usually have that reputation of being very, very cynical and really being critical of the subject and of what they're hearing. What forensic psychology means is quite literally you're a psychologist for the court. It's not like you're in CSI or what is the other one? Criminal Minds or anything like that. Very few ever even do any of that. Most of them just interview for the courts, whether retained by the judge or the attorneys. And a lot of what forensic psychologists do is determine whether there's capacity of a defendant to stand trial. It's usually something like that. With all that said, the point is that the forensic psychologist always has to be extremely critical of their subject and not take what the subject is saying as the most valuable piece of information, but use it as a puzzle piece to figure out what could be the actual whole story. And that is why a forensic psychologist usually has a reputation of being very, very cynical, is because they're not believing what you're saying. Typically you walk into a psychologist's office and then you sit down with them and then they believe everything you're saying. Point that I'm making is that Dr. Curry seemed to have done it right, where she was critical of Amber Heard's responses and knew that Amber Heard would have liked to be diagnosed with PTSD to substantiate her case. But Dr. Curry seemed to push back and was critical and cynical of her responses, and was able to determine, once she was critical and cynical of her responses, that Amber Heard did not, in fact, have PTSD.